The head of AstraZeneca, one of Britain's top drug companies, has warned that the UK government is not doing enough to support scientific innovation after an ovarian cancer drug the group developed was ruled too expensive to be used by the National Health Service. The criticism raises critical issues, from the future of scientific research in Britain to the funding of life-extending but highly expensive drugs. Joining me to discuss these questions is Andrew Ward, the FT's pharmaceuticals correspondent. Andrew, tell me, what has Pascal Soriot, the chief executive of AstraZeneca, said to you in this interview?
Well, first and foremost, he believes this is a breakthrough drug that offers new treatment options for women with a certain type of ovarian cancer, certain genetic mutations. This is a very targeted treatment, very modern. He believes it's an innovation that British patients should have access to in a world-class health system. What makes it particularly resonant is that this drug was developed in the UK. It was discovered by scientists at Cambridge University, spun out into a biotech company, bought by AstraZeneca, a champion of British pharmaceuticals industry, and brought to market last year. So he sees a disconnect between the strength of UK science and the apparent unwillingness of the British health system, the NHS, to pay for that innovation.
So what is the problem? Here's a fantastic, apparently very efficacious new drug, but the NHS is not going to use it. What is the problem here?
Well, you can sort of quibble over the data. AstraZeneca says it's a clear improvement. NICE, the agency that determines cost effectiveness for the NHS, disputes that somewhat. But even if we accept that it's an effective drug, there's a question over price and how much a health system is willing to pay for these few extra months, maybe a year or 2 years if you're lucky, that these drugs can buy for a patient. Now, NICE has a threshold. It says that we're willing to pay a maximum of about £20,000 to £30,000 per what they call quality adjusted life years added by a new drug. This one costs about £50,000. So they say it's simply not worth the money to the British taxpayer, considering the benefit that it delivers to patients.
I think a lot of patients might say, why is it so expensive?
Well, the drug industry would say that the average cost of developing a new drug from the moment it's discovered in the laboratory to the point of entering market can take up to 10, 20 years. The average cost is about $2.6 billion. Now that includes the cost of all the failures, because the industry has to, in order to make a profit, it needs to recover the cost of all the failures in those successful drugs that reach market. So they say that they, on every new drug, need to recover a cost of an average of about $2 billion or more. Now, the critics of industry would look at the pretty healthy profit margins that the industry still makes, 60, 70% or more on a gross level, and they think that the industry can make concessions on price.
This issue of very expensive drugs is not obviously one that's unique to the UK, but other countries are using this or have approved this new AstraZeneca drug. What's happening in other countries, and how are they perhaps more capable of introducing these expensive new drugs?
Well, there's price pressure on drug makers across Europe in general, from single-payer health systems that have strong negotiating leverage on the side of the government. So now AstraZeneca says that yes, they've got access to markets in Germany, in France, in Sweden. They believe that the UK is taking a tougher line, but the real gulf is between Europe, which has strong negotiating leverage on the part of public health systems, versus the US, where there is no regulation of drug prices. So it's what the market will bear. And the criticism of the industry is that they set these extremely high prices that they can command in the US, then they bring them to Europe at a bit of a discount. But Europe would like to see a rebasing of drug pricing, and they believe that these extraordinarily high prices in the US are distorting global pricing in general.
And this problem seems as if it's going to get worse, not better, because the drug companies are now developing new treatments, new types of treatments, especially for cancers, that are going to be more expensive.
We've seen some terrific excitement in the past few days. The biggest annual cancer oncology conference of the year took place in Chicago over the weekend. We saw some dramatic data about big new breakthroughs in a new class of drugs called immunotherapies, which harness the body's own immune system to destroy tumours. It's been seen as a transformational moment in cancer care. The problem is that these new drugs are costing in the US, where they've arrived in the market already, about $150,000 a year. And they're coming here soon. And European public health systems are going to be faced with a terrible dilemma. Can they afford to pay for these breakthrough treatments? Or are patients in the UK and elsewhere going to be told that our public health systems simply cannot afford them?
Andrew Ward, thank you very much indeed.